Happy day wherever you at. Happy Sunday. Hopefully your day is going well. I know it's the day before the work week, and I know a lot of people get iffy about the weekend and Saturday and all of that and Sunday and whatever. But really, it's a blessing every day. And speaking of blessings, I had this thought that I really wanted to share with you all about God's grace. In case you don't know, let's give a working definition of grace. Grace is when God blesses you just because. Grace has no rhyme or reason. It's not because of anything that you could do. It's not because you're perfect. It's not because you're smart or you went to the right college or university. It's not because your parents had money. It's not because you look good, you smell good. All that stuff is fine, but that's not why God gives grace. Grace simply means God does it just because. And we try to always think of those reasons like, why does God show me grace? Or like, why does God look out for me? Why does God bless me with these things that I don't deserve or I wasn't qualified for? And some things we maybe can find a reason later on in life. If you look back at some of the things that God has given you in your life, you can probably look back and say, okay, like this makes sense. Um, a biblical example of that is Joseph, how, God puts him in this predicament to go into captivity. And then by the time there's a famine, he's like, basically, when his brothers are coming to him, his dad's coming to him, just paraphrasing, like, what you all meant for evil, God meant for good. Right? There was a grace where some of the brothers were thinking about killing him or taking his life, being internet friendly here. But there was a grace in there that didn't happen. But he reasoned that later on it was because whatever they meant for evil, God was meaning that for good, right? But not everything is that easy. If we're honest, there are a lot of things that we received in life. There's a lot of things God has granted us, God has given us. And like, we don't even know why God did it. Like we just got to be honest. Like there's plenty of things I could think about in my life where it was great to receive from God, but I don't know why God did it. And I still don't know why God doing things. And if I'm honest, there are things that I haven't even received yet that I'm like, I know God's going to do it for me, but I just don't know why. Because again, I know me. I know I'm not perfect. I'm a reverend, all that stuff is cool, but I'm not perfect. I haven't always done things right. I'm not the perfect person. I'm not the nicest person. You know what I mean? Like, I've made plenty of mistakes in my life, and I'm not afraid to admit that I've made plenty of mistakes in my life. Sorry about that, knock that over. I've made plenty of mistakes in my life. You know what I mean? And I think that's one thing about me that I like to be with people. I like to just keep it real. Like, I ain't never been perfect. Like I strive for perfection. I strive to be better. I strive to do better. But I know there's still room for me to grow. So whatever I receive from God, whatever blessings I received, whatever grace I received from God, I understand that it is not because of any perfection of me. It's because God does things just because. But that being said, when you receive that blessing from God, when you receive that grace, it should force us in a way to live life with gratitude. You know what I mean? Because it's like you're receiving something that you don't deserve. So there should be a certain level of excitement that you have about living. And again, it's not based off of the thing, right? Like I think sometimes we put excitement into objects and items. And one thing I learned when I was dealing with my depression is that I put a lot of hope and faith into items and things, hoping that those would be the things that would, fix everything with me and solve every problem in life. But the truth is, that didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? Like I was just waiting for things to make me feel whole and to be better and whatever, whatever. And that didn't happen, you know. And I think it's a very Western way of us to look at it. Like when I get a thing, my happiness is in the thing, whether that's a job, whether it's a house, whether it's a car, a relationship, even like whatever it is, you can put your faith in the thing and that becomes the thing that you give God grace for. But truthfully, the praise to God is because God showed you grace. You see what I'm saying? There's a nuance there. It's not the object, it's the actual action of grace that should get us excited. It's the action of grace that should overwhelm our spirit with joy and praise. It's the action of grace that God even thinks enough of us to do something for us, is in and of itself enough to be the thing that leads us to give God praise. Like, that's where our praise and admiration for God and our worship for God comes from, not from the item, but from the action of grace. And I think a lot of times we just have to really do a better job of that. And like I said, I don't blame anybody, because we live in a culture that tells you, like, you see the commercials where people get an engagement ring or something. Everybody's so happy because, like, oh my God, I just got something. And, they're always so happy about it, like, woohoo. Like, that's just how the commercials and advertising is. And it gets into our brains. And a lot of us live life in that way, to where it's like, the possession equals the happiness. But with God, the love comes from just the fact that God showed you that. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter about what it is. It could be something as small as you got a sandwich unexpectedly. You know what I mean? It don't have to be you driving in the Benz. It don't got to be you riding clean. Like, you got this house. Like, it could be anything. The praise to God comes from the fact that God allowed you to experience something that you didn't ask for many a times, or even if you did ask for it, that God just did it just because, without any reason or rhyme. So first, that should give us gratitude. It also really should focus our life into how we really move forward in the season of life that we're in. And what I mean by that is, like, look, once God gives you something that you don't deserve, you don't really qualify for, you didn't work for, you didn't do a lot of things to get there. And what's up to everybody in the live showing love? I appreciate it. But you didn't do anything really to get it, right? And now you have it. How are you living? And that's something we really got to think about, because a lot of us just like live life and take things for granted. It's like, we've been blessed immensely with opportunities to live a life that some of us never even thought we'd be living today. Some of us didn't even think we'd be living right now. We thought we'd have been long gone, whatever, just not here today. But, God allows us to live. God allows us to be here, and it's fantastic. But now it's like, what are you doing in your life to show that gratitude? Gratitude is more than just saying, thank you, God, for the blessings you give me. That's appreciation. But how do you live day to day with it? It's like, so many times we mistreat the grace that we receive from God. Like, we misuse the grace. We don't appreciate it fully, the things that God gives us. We don't really walk in it and live in it and really give that appreciation. I'll give an example. Like, some of us might have been like, God, I really need this job. I really need this job. I need this job. All right. God gives you grace. Get the job. You show your gratitude and your praise. You're so happy for it. Thank you, God. I got this job. Yes, everything is amazing. Woohoo. You're happy. You give God glory for all of that good stuff. But then, like, you start showing up late. You be cussing people out. You don't really care. You talking bad about, wherever you at. And that's just funny, because it's like, a few months ago when you were praying, you were, oh God, I need this, I need this. Then you got it. You're, oh God, thank you, I got it, I got it. And now it's like, you just treat it whatever type of way now that you have it. And I don't blame anybody. Like, I've been there, I've done that before too. Like, when I'm talking to you, I'm also talking to me. There's moments that I've gotten things from God, and I asked for it, I prayed for it, I wanted it, I worked for it, and I got it. And then I had it. I didn't do much with it. I fumbled the ball. I dropped the ball. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I wasn't perfect. You know what I mean? I made mistakes. I messed up with the things that I had. And it just forced me to realize that, it's one of those things that we got to really check ourselves and really think about. Like, we all make mistakes, and that's fine. You could have messed up whatever God has given you before. But the truth is, like, what are you going to do moving forward? And that's the question we have to ask ourselves. Like, what are we going to do moving forward in the year, in the month, in the moment we realize that, yo, I'm not really treating this thing God gave me in the way I'm supposed to. The biggest answer is walk in that freedom, right? Like it should encourage you to live life boldly because God has given you something. And when you walk in that boldness and that courage, it really, really will help how you center your life, how you move forward. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, man, we just really be out here dropping the ball. But once you realize the thing that God has done for you, it should really cause you to live in a way that you've never lived before. When you realize that what you have is something that, you know, it comes from God, like you should really internalize that and think about that and really just move in a way that you've never moved before. So in this, I really challenge you to say, like, what has God done for you? What has God showed you? What has God opened the door for? And really think about how you're living and moving based off of what God has done for you. I'm out of here. Talk to y'all later. Take care.